went. And that's where we come and help you. We are financial coaches and registered financial advisors, where we sit with you, create a budget, and ensure that your high interest debt is paid off and plan for your upcoming expenses. When your business
broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world, you are watching NowMedia Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. I'm here because I believe that iron sharpens iron. And when we as executives and entrepreneurs share what's working in business and maybe even some of what's not, we're able to learn and grow together. As a result, our businesses grow, and the ripple effect impacts not only ourselves and our families, but also our teams, their families, the community, and the world. So without further ado, you asked, I listened, you have asked all about AI. What is going on in AI? How do I integrate that into my business? And so on and so forth. Even some things have been like, what are the fears of AI and what jobs might be replaced? So I went ahead and found the perfect guests to answer these questions for you. I am in studio today with Rishi Patil, the CEO, and Mike Collins, the COO of Scovinen. And they are experts in technology and bridging the future of business and technology for you. Welcome to the studio, Rishi and Mike.
Thank you so much, Jen.
So Scovinen, what came out? How did that name come into being? I'm really curious. I saw that and I was like, oh my goodness, I just hope I can pronounce this properly. What is the meaning behind the name of your company?
Sure. Maybe I can start. So Scovinen is actually a portmanteau of two Scandinavian words that mean random forest. Now, random forest is one of the most important machine learning algorithms that drives powers a lot of the AI models. And the significance of why we chose that name is because in a random forest, there's a lot of decision trees that actually combine to give a result that's much better than the individual trees. Similarly, what we do is we bring together expertise from different backgrounds, management consulting, artificial intelligence, data science, and the expertise of all of these different individuals contributes to a result that's much better than anything that's, has a very monolithic viewpoint. So that's kind of how we came up with the name.
I absolutely love that. And a lot of times on the show, we talk about how when we build teams, we want the team to be better than the sum of all its individual parts. And you've just captured that completely with the name of your business. I think that's absolutely fascinating. Also fascinating to me is both of you have been in business for a long time. This isn't your first rodeo. You've been consultants in the industry for many, many years. You've had multiple businesses. Tell me, what was it that drove you to start this business and to really take in the machine learning and the AI aspect and apply that to the operations? Because it's definitely what the rage is. Everybody wants to know how to implement these things. So how did you come up with the concept, and how have you been able to kind of bridge that gap between the AI, machine learning, and the operational side of things?
Great. I'll start on that one. So both Rishi and I have long tenure, as you said, Jen, quite rightly, in the consulting industry. I am now, I think, I can't believe it, sometimes 35 years plus in it with a number of consulting firms, and Rishi also probably 20 plus years invested. I started in the operational background, really delivering projects and programs, both from the customer service side, a lot of call centers where technology is obviously prevalent, mining, both underground and surface mining. So, and clearly, the manufacturing sector. So that spanned a great deal of my time, both from operations, and then about 16, 17 years ago, I moved into the analysis phase where I was really doing the due diligence with clients, looking at what the gaps were, the root causes of some of the constraints, the roadblocks, and seeing how we could, alleviate those. And it really kind of boils down to man, method, machine, material measurement, really looking at those root causes. During that progression, myself and Rishi had worked together on a couple of occasions and really thought, to quote Kevin O'Leary from, I think it's the TV show, there has to be a better way, because there were a lot of clients that weren't really leveraging the right decision-making framework based upon timely, fact-based information. And so how could you do that? You know, consultants have a great value proposition. They're moving the human element of it, the process element, but how can you really give that full complement of information? So a few years ago, Rishi and I founded and started the company. You know, COVID kind of took us a little bit of a hit, so it was a kind of a ramp up opportunity for us. And then coming out of COVID has really been gangbusters for us. And the complement between Rishi and I is he has a very significant technical background, also with our third partner, which we'd love to kind of bring you up to speed with who that is, from the technical aspect of AI. And I'm more from the operational consulting side, because we felt that the niche was really how could we best serve and help clients across all demographics, all wide bases of operations. And with that complement of people, process, systems, and looking at how we can change the human behavior, because data without action and without resolution is nothing. It's data, right? But again, action and movement means nothing unless you're doing it with the right fact-based information. So it's a perfect blend for us, and Scovinen is that answer. And, you know, based on, you know, initial client feedback and some of the progression we're having right now, we're delighted at the response from industry, because they've seen it and they've needed and wanted it. Rishi, anything to add?
I think the only thing I'll add is basically when you look at what technology companies typically offer, you know, they want to basically build solutions that are applicable to hundreds of thousands or millions of users. And then on the flip side, there's consulting firms that look at solutions that are one at a time, you know, basically solving complex business problems for one company at a time. And what we are doing is kind of somewhere in between, where many of our solutions are applicable to potentially dozens or, you know, maybe hundreds of companies, but they are very specific. So it basically helps to kind of go deeper and solve those business problems from a root cause perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's really our differentiator between, you know, the extremes of just pure technology versus pure management consulting.
I think Jen, what Rishi's, you know, really honing in on is very important for us and hopefully your viewers. Is for Scovinen, the answer is not one size fits all. You know, square hole, square peg. It really has to be bespoke. You know, you can get off the shelf and large enterprise systems, but they require extensive commitment both in time and financially. What you really, sometimes it's like the cruise ship analogy. It's a big ship, takes a long time and a long investment. What Scovinen bring is a bespoke opportunity to look at the real root cause of the problem, come up with a custom design and implement it to address that action.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fascinating. And we talk about that a lot on the show. There is no such thing as a one size fits all solution. And a lot of, I'm going to speak to kind of the small business realm, right? They don't have as much spend for their technology and the digitization of their company. And they're trying to merge together different pieces, and it doesn't always work very fluidly. And so it ends up being less efficient and effective. So I totally agree with you. The bespoke aspect is so incredibly critical. And if you think about it from a consulting standpoint also, everybody has a different mindset, a different set of problems. They have a different business plan, a different solution. And so you kind of have to have that individualized attention and fit their needs. What are their needs? So I really, really like the solution that you guys have brought together because you're absolutely right. It's something that is needed. So I would love to ask the next question, because this is a hot question that comes up. It comes up with my coaching clients. It comes up in the businesses that I invest in. It comes up with the people who are interacting with me with regards to this show. We are afraid of what might happen if we turn over our processes to artificial intelligence. And as you are well aware, it's been all over the news. We had everybody signing that petition to kind of halt and put some guardrails. We've got people concerned about automated weapons. I mean, everybody has seen Terminator at this point in time. So there's this innate fear that a lot of entrepreneurs have, specifically with how far does this go and what control will it take away from me as the decision maker, and how much should I release? So can you guys speak a little bit to that? Because in my experience, and you guys have equally a very impressive consulting background, a lot of times the entrepreneur is the bottleneck. so it's a logical fear, but it's also something that's an awesome solution to our own bottlenecks. So if you could speak to that, I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So perhaps, I should start with how we actually start engaging with the clients, right? The first thing we do is get to the root cause of basically the business problem that a particular client is trying to solve. And that's where we start from. So we don't essentially come in and say, we've got a magic solution or a magic bullet that's going to solve all of your problems. We essentially start with the business problem, get a deep understanding of what they're trying to achieve, and then and only then we bring the relevant technology or AI solutions to come to bear on that problem. So what that does is basically it limits the scope of what AI solution we are bringing and how we are actually implementing it in the context of solving that business problem. So it's not a generic, it's an artificial general intelligence that's going to take over the entire company. It's not that. It's essentially how do we really enhance what individuals in the company are already doing, and it becomes an aid to getting operational insights quicker, better, faster, and it's not essentially replacing anyone. So that's kind of, and that's our viewpoint, that AI should be, just like many technologies in the past, should be brought in to actually help people in the companies and not essentially take over from them.
Right, better, faster, more efficient. Yes, absolutely. Mike?
So great points, and I build on that. Again, it brings to Skovan's business model. I think one of the critical factors to get that participation, engagement, understanding, and velocity is to really be. You mentioned about our team. We don't consider it our team. We consider the clients as an extension of our team, and we of them. And I think that comes from our background of operational consulting, where you don't do it to someone, you do it with. Otherwise, there's no conceptual, mechanical, and long-term compliance and understanding, right? And therefore, there's no sustainability. In order to get sustainability, you have to participate with the client. So to waylay those fears that you mentioned, which happen, is how am I going to get started, or what's it really going to do or impact my business? Participate with them. Let them understand. Coaching is a fundamental part of it as well, because a consequence of AI will be job displacement, reallocation of resources. So unless you're right there from the grassroots training them, you're not there just bringing in a technical solution and forcing it down that pipe. You really have to be participating with the client, showing them the value proposition of here's the information in a timely manner. Okay, so what? Now, what are you going to do with it? One of the jokes I always say to people, it's written here in somewhere in my office, is if you give Rain Man a Ferrari, you'll just get a fast accident. So we're not there just to give them the information. We're there to coach them on how to drive that car around the racetrack. What skills do you require?
Absolutely, and one of the big pushbacks that I've heard with digitization, and let's be real, digitization is the future of business. If we're not integrating with technology and we're not staying ahead and utilizing the tools that are available to us, especially in the smaller businesses, we're going to lose out to those who have a better cost structure. It's just what it is. And so to assuage some of those fears that people are having, I hear that you're working with them. And how much of the conversation becomes upskilling and how to upskill and how to get the buy-in from the team? Because I think that inherently is most of the entrepreneurs and the leaders, the executives, the biggest fear is a lack of buy-in. And then the other one is how easily is this going to integrate? Because we've all had software integration nightmare stories. I come from sports medicine and medical. When EMR started, that was a disaster. It's still a disaster. They can't figure it out. So what does that look like? Walk me through that process with the teams a little bit so that we can kind of hear, because everyone who's watching, this is the hottest topic right now. How do we get the team buy-in to accept this, and how scary is the integration process? What's the length of time? What does that look like so we can prepare for this?
You want to start, Mike?
Yeah, sure. So on the buy-in, again, it's participation and communication, right? I mean, one of the critical things when you're bringing an AI or ML solution to bear with a client is part of it's the messaging, right? They say it's the messaging, not the messenger. So, part of it is, what you're doing now is not wrong. It's not bad. It's just inherent to be the practices you're used to now. And it's really just education and adopting. People want to work smart. They don't want to work hard, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the understanding and coaching of the person to say, okay, there is a better way. And this is going to alleviate some of the bottlenecks that have been constraints for you in terms, especially in time. You can't buy time. So how can I recapture that time and better utilize it on behalf of the company and yourself as an individual contributor to generate benefit to both yourself and the company? So it's really about that, making sure the messaging is correct, as opposed to just coming in and saying, guess what, guys, we're putting in an AI or ML solution.
And I'd like to maybe add on the second part, which is what about the integrations, right? And what about disruptions? So what we usually build is custom solutions that are deployed in the cloud, so either AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. And in building and deploying the solutions, we really have the ability to integrate with various existing disparate data sources as long as they have an API. Or we also have some custom solutions that can read from things like paper. So we can extract information basically from paper-based documents or PDF documents and pull information in. So what I'm trying to say is, like, we minimize the disruption to, it's not an enterprise level. Yeah, we're going to spend 12 months integrating all of your data sources. No, these are quick deployments that allow you to integrate essentially in a matter of weeks and start seeing results in that period of time. So within 4 to 6 weeks, you're not just, it's not, by the time the requirements are defined, we are already actually delivering results in that time frame.
I think that is very, very fascinating, because that is a tremendous fear. What is the downtime going to be? How long until I see some sort of a result? And I think the biggest result that people are looking for is efficiency. They're looking for improved productivity and efficiency. And I want to ask you about learning, because this is something that is very key, especially when you think about companies that are onboarding, training. Are you guys seeing a trend towards artificial intelligence and machine-assisted learning, like simulations and those kind of things, whether it's sales teams or what have you? Are you seeing more of an uptake in that? Is it trickling down finally from the enterprise level to small businesses? Because there's a little bit of a resistance there as well, because we don't fix what's not broken. I hate that mindset, because that's a good way for you to lose your market share. But it's this general mindset that exists in a certain level of company. So are you seeing a shift in that? What are you guys seeing? Because you were real plugged in to the entrepreneurs and to the digital solution side of things.
Yeah, I think we can all do a bit better. I mean, I'll be perfectly frank with you, Jen. I mean, I think the adoption needs to have a little bit more of a wake-up call, and I think it needs to be a little bit quicker. We are, when we go in to do our projects, a little bit challenged. Ironically, I'll tell you this. I think sometimes we get more resistance from the C-suite level than we do the frontline workers. The frontline workers recognize it. They go home, they see the news, they're starting to use tools such as ChatGPT, and they know, and they're adapting and understanding. They get it. They get where the world's going to. So sometimes the businesses themselves are actually, from the leadership side, are harder to push than the actual employee. Rishi?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what Mike just said. And essentially, as long as we start with a fundamental understanding of, here's the business problem that the frontline people are actually facing, and the solutions that we are bringing are actually going to enhance or make it easier for them, that's how we really get buy-in. Because it's not, here's something that is going to change your way of working, and and it's going to be disruptive. Instead, we essentially say, okay, here's a solution. Here's a problem that you always experience, and here's how you can solve it. And when you do that, when you're saying, okay, we're not asking you to enter, things manually into a database. We are actually pulling information either from a PLC or from a paper or from PDF, and it's not actually causing extra work to the individual. It's actually making things easier for them. That's how we really get the buy-in.
Awesome. So that leads me to my next question, because I'm sure you have seen all over the place. It's in the news. Like, what is the accuracy of the research that is happening with AI as our frontline workers are playing with, all the different tools that they have available right now? There's been a lot of talk about the accuracy or the inaccuracy, actually, of some of the data that's pulled. Like, how is that solved on your end? Like, what does that look like? Because that is one of the objections that people are having right now. Well, how can I trust that it's the right data? How can I trust that it's going to be accurate and that it's going to do what it says it's going to do? So what does that kind of look like on your end, and how can we integrate that into what we're doing?
So I think I'll address it in 2 points. So one is, when we talk about accuracy of data, or we want to validate where that data is coming from, if it's coming from essentially external sources, that's where the real challenge lies. Now, in the context of what we normally do and where we really operate is mostly in the internal space of a company. So there, the data sources are all fairly well understood or well defined once you get to really know them. And what that means is, at least for us, we don't have as much of a challenge of essentially, having those external data sources. Now, obviously, even from an internal data source perspective, we make sure that everything's tested and validated and checked, multiple times before it's actually deployed. Right. And in the company, in the corporate space where we operate, that we have the kind of the luxury of being able to do that. We have the luxury of being able to test and validate our solutions before they get formally deployed. But yeah, to your point, when it comes to, in general, should artificial intelligence require checks and balances and testing and validation? Absolutely, absolutely. When you're ingesting data from outside, there's the inherent risk of not being able to essentially have a good understanding of where it's coming from, or the accuracy of it, or how real it is. And that is absolutely something that we incorporate if we're pulling information from outside.
Absolutely. Garbage in, garbage out, right? We talk about that with our food. A lot of times we talk about, if you eat poor choices, then you are brain foggy, you don't make good decisions. It's the same thing. If they're going to, Uncle Google or where have you, and the data is incorrect, well, it's going to be incorrect, right?
Right, absolutely.
Mike, did you have anything
Facebook is not fact? Okay.
Do you remember? Well, I'm old enough to remember when the internet first came into play. I was actually in medical school when it became commercially available. And remember dial-up? You'd get to 80% and then your page would go away. And it was a fear then. And I think there's a lot of parallels with the AI fears. Like, I'm hearing the same arguments I heard in the 90s about the internet applied to artificial intelligence. So I'm really curious, like, have y'all, I'm not going to assume anything. I know I'm old, but after 35 years in consulting, are you seeing sort of the same kind of pushback, and how are you able to message it in a way that they can kind of see, the internet was not going to be everywhere, and now we can't live without it, right? So the future of AI in business, like how are y'all navigating those waters?
I think so. You bring up some great points, because I did see some of the early stages of web deployment. In fact, that was my first, web solutions were my first business. That was like about 20 years ago. And what we find is essentially people have the same kind of challenges, which is, on one hand, there's companies that have a real requirement of these are my business problems, and how can the web or how can AI help me address those, right? And on the other hand, initially, when the web was starting, or now, it's still in the infancy stages of artificial intelligence deployments. And the question becomes like, how is this all pertinent to me, right? Or is this just hype? And I think the answer is somewhere in between, because, like, as an example, in 1999 or the year 2000, a lot of the web was just considered as, this is Yellow Pages, just in a different medium, right? And all of the real value of what the web could really do for you, all of the online banking and almost everything that we do today, it happens largely on the web. I mean, we are having, this interview, it's on the web, right? And all of those use cases weren't really understood well at that point in time. And it's kind of similar right now with artificial intelligence, because on the one hand, you have a bunch of consumer applications which are fairly well understood, and like those are fairly well developed. But when it comes to corporate applications or commercial applications, I think we are in the very early stages. And because of that, there's a tendency towards hype, and there's a tendency towards not really understanding how it's going to solve my problem in my company. And that's really where companies like Slovanon can help, which is to take it down to, okay, here's a plethora of different machine learning or artificial intelligence applications, and here's your business problems that we have always traditionally solved using traditional management consulting. And now we can help them, bring those to bear on those problems. And that's how really the whole field actually evolves towards a deeper deployment and understanding of what this space is all about.
Thank you so much. It was an excellent bridge. And we do have to take a brief break for commercial, but hold that thought. We'll be right back after these messages.
Stop and think. How often do you take the time to set goals? And when you set those goals, how often do you hit them? The problem is the word goal setting. We all have goals, but goals are just wishes. Goals are what we want. What we really need is called result setting. My name is Katrin Becker, and what I do is create tailor-made result plans that ensure people will hit their targets. If you are committed for real results, let's chat and see which program is right for you and your team. Goals are just what we want, but together, results are what we will achieve.
If you have the perfect health insurance plan and you don't want to save any money, you might want to stop listening now. However, if you are like the rest of us who know that the number one cause of bankruptcy is unexpected medical costs due to subpar coverage, you really want to listen closely. Even if you owe 20% of your medical costs for a large claim, like cancer or a bad accident, it will wipe out the wealth you've worked for your entire career. That's why when it comes to choosing health insurance, it's important to get the right coverage for you and your family. I'm April Clark with Clark Health Insurance. My mission and passion is to simplify the process for small business owners, families, and self-employed individuals. Protect your health and start saving money on your insurance today.
I was recently asked what it means to be a family lawyer. What is family law? Family law is not just about divorce or custody or child support. Family law is about your life. As a family lawyer, I protect your children, your wealth, your future. I don't do this alone. As your attorney, we work as a team to determine your goals and priorities and provide a strategy in an often complex, painful, and confusing time. Whether it's asset protection through pre- or post-marital agreements or fighting to protect your children, I'm here to help. My team and I bring decades of combined experience to support you and your family in all aspects of family and wealth planning, from estate and legacy planning to divorce and child custody issues to representation in complex litigation cases. Take a decisive step. We're here when you're ready. Remember, it's about your life.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Gaudet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life. Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. We have been talking all things AI, machine learning, digitization of business, and what is happening. What is the future of business as it comes to those kind of technical solutions in our operations. If you are just now tuning in, you need to go catch the first segment because we've had a lot of gems dropped by our guests today. You can do that by going to NowMedia.tv, going to Power CEOs, clicking on shows, and catch that. But buckle up, we're going to keep on this conversation because we have in studio Rishi Patil and Mike Collins of Scovanin, and they are giving us all kinds of good tips, advice. What does it look like overcoming our fears with regards to AI in our businesses? So I'm going to dive right back into the conversation we were having before the break. And that was, we're kind of at the early adoption phase of artificial intelligence in business. And so I'm going to pose the question, Mike and Rishi, to you guys. How long do you think, like I'm asking for your crystal ball here, I know this is just an opinion, until we're at that 50%, we're hitting the mainstream adoption of AI and these kind of tools in business? What do you guys think?
I think this is happening at a rapid pace, and it's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, how much of that adoption is going to be evenly spread, I don't know. I can't say, but I believe that even small to mid-sized companies are going to start to catch up with the larger companies in the next few years. And it's because of what I see as in terms of AI development as a lot of entry-level tools that allow them to kind of start that journey. And that's really what it boils down to. If you can get started on that journey, and then, iterate on what's the next improvement, I think that's the way to go. If a lot of, unlike large companies where you can afford to invest, millions of dollars in, 12 months in an engagement, for a small to mid-sized company, that's often not the reality. They don't have the privilege of doing that. So in their case, when you can start small, maybe start on some pilots or maybe start on some specific burning platforms, burning areas in your business that you really want to address. And then if you can get started with that, that's how you really play catch up or sometimes actually leapfrog over the larger competitors.
So I would actually challenge my own partner and say, Jen, it's going to happen a lot quicker than that. This is a sprint, not a marathon. He who leads the market will win the market. And because of affordability, because of access to, I think that a lot of these smaller companies are literally going to leapfrog. I think that it's a fantastic time to be alive and to be using and being embracing AI, but I think it's going to happen a lot quicker than 3 to 5 years. I think on a daily basis we're seeing change happen. So, and I think that because of some of the early tools that are coming out, which provide sentiment of the customer, market understanding, I think because those are easily and readily available, a lot of smart people that don't have the big expensive cars and the big employee base are going to be taking a real note of it, looking at it, leading that market and jumping very quickly into this. And I think that we've all got to buckle up. I think the expression you used was perfect. Buckle up, because this is a sprint, not a marathon.
Yeah, and it's a wave that if we're not riding, it's going to crash on us, because what I'm seeing, and I'm just going to speak from my observations, is if it's leveling the playing field, it truly is giving the smaller companies a little bit more agility, a little bit better positioning to actually play in the big leagues. And I do see it kind of as a wave. And if we're not surfing that wave, if we don't have a plan and we're not implementing things in place right now, today, and getting on board, we're gonna find ourselves with that wave crashing on us. So you spoke to some of these tools, and I would love to hear maybe a couple of concrete examples, specifically for the smaller, more agile companies. Like, what is a starting tool that would really help them? And I'm going to just kind of plant a seed, because one of the things that I see a lot is challenges with looking at numbers in small businesses, challenges with understanding leading versus lagging indicators, and actually applying the data to the strategy and seeing how to navigate through and adjust the strategy so that, like the game time decisions, not waiting until the buzzer sounds and it's too late. So talk to me a little bit about how what you guys are doing and some of these tools are helping entrepreneurs and executives to make those decisions, the right decision, faster.
Well, I'll start, Rishi, on the mechanic side of it, and then if you can come to the technical side of it, because with 30 plus years in the operational consulting space, I've seen a lot of companies, consulting companies, but they're all using or pulling from the same fishing tackle box. Mm-hmm. They really are, and a lot of them are very mechanical type tools. So I think that when I look at what value we bring in terms of the tool sets, there's a couple of things that immediately our clients are seeing value with. One of them we kind of touched on was Alstra, and I'll have Rishi go into the technical side of what Alstra does for a client. But if when you see these clients and they, in essence, want to start that journey, they're eager, ready, willing, and able to start that journey, but they have maybe some manual data. They've been writing things down manually or use tickets and so forth in hard copy. They're thinking, oh my gosh, now I've got to get an army of people to start tippy typing into Excel. So Alstra is the perfect solution for that. The other one is our dashboard. A lot of companies, especially consulting companies, try to bring together and consolidate that information in a form of a dashboard, but it still, to an essence, is lagging. So what we are very, very focused on is making sure that there's a predictive element into it. It's forward looking. It's everyone's smart when you're looking over your shoulder and in the rear view mirror. You have to be looking through the windscreen. So one of our tools, especially Chronica, really gives people that dynamic understanding of, not let's all just celebrate or focus on what happened yesterday, but what do we think is going to happen tomorrow or the next couple of weeks? So these are great tools. Rishi, do you want to kind of talk a little bit more about those in specifics?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Mike just mentioned one of our tool sets called Alstra, and I'll just give you an example of where and how we actually were able to help one of our clients in North Carolina. There's a logistics company in North Carolina that moves containers and bulk goods. And when we first started working with them a few years ago, they had a bunch of truck shipments that they handled per week. I think it was an order of 800 shipments a week. And all of that paperwork, even though it was system generated, it was all manual, and then the drivers used to have to essentially keep those pieces of paper and then send it back, mail it back or scan it and email it back. And that whole process used to take about 3 weeks. So it was 3 weeks before this company, our client, could actually invoice their their clients. And what we did with Alstra is we provided them with the ability to very quickly ingest a bunch of different forms, and that could be scale tickets, gate tickets, rate confirmations, bills of lading, you name it. There were about 10 different kinds of data that essentially were on printed forms or PDFs that we were able to ingest. And now that after we ingested them, that basically is converted into data intelligence. So it's stored in a database that can then be analyzed and charted and graphed and reported. So what that meant for this client is not only were they able to essentially send the invoices the next day as opposed to 3 weeks out from now, but more importantly, because all of this data that previously just existed on a PDF or file cabinet or a SharePoint, now they can actually look at that data and answer intelligent questions about that data, about their operation. So, what's your average cost per mile? What's your average time for a delivery? What is your best origin and destination pairs? And what's the best time to schedule those? There's about, 24 questions that you can answer from the data that we just pulled from these about, 10 different kinds of forms. And this solution is, I just gave you an example for logistics, but really what we have is applicable to many different industries. You can use it for quality control in chemical companies in manufacturing. You can use it for invoices. You can use it for maintenance work orders, you name it. And what that really does is without putting the burden on the frontline employees of actually creating more work for them, it just basically makes their life easier, because now they don't have to, all of this information that either they had to previously enter manually or, it was just stored somewhere without them having access to it. It's all ingested in a much quicker, faster, better manner. And now we can start doing predictive things on that data. And that's just one example of some of our tool sets.
Well, and let's be frank, it also eliminates some of the user error from manual keying in, because there's a lot of that, and especially when you're talking about numbers. So now I want to ask another question, because leading indicators, and Mike, you touched on this, leading indicators are so vitally important to a business. What good is it if we're always looking at our financials and the game is over if we can't make the game time decision? And so with all of the data that you're using, how are we able to now look at our pipeline? Like, is there a tool that you have that shows us the pipeline, the days between, for example, proposal to money in to what is our lag time to get the projects done, and our burn rate? Like, are those kind of things that your tools can just very rapidly pull together so that, our executives can make our game time decision and say, okay, we need to adjust marketing. Our pipeline's too full. We have to allocate resources over here. This is what's happening. Is that one of the things that your tools actually do for your companies?
Mike, you want to start?
Oh, I'd set you up, my friend, when I talked about products. Okay. I thought you were going to segue straight into it. I'll say yes. I'll segue to Rishi on the technical side of it, but I'll also say, one of the other leading indicators that we're very proud of with one of our tools called Forschbar is for predictive maintenance. I mean, a lot of companies struggle with maintenance, and they're looking at old legacy work orders, and then, they look at break, fix, and corrective maintenance. But if you can get ahead of that curve and really understand through sensors, through vibration, through trend analysis, what is my predictability for this? It really helps them on a cost control and a productivity control. So we've got a couple of tools. Again, Rishi can talk to the specifics, but Chronica and Forschbar, which are really, Jen, to your point, on the leading edge versus on the reaction side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, to add to what Mike said, essentially, previously I talked about some of the ingestion criteria, right? We can ingest from PDF or from a PLC, from a manufacturing line, or from other enterprise systems. So let's talk about the outputs, or what are we doing with that data, right? That's ingested. So one is obviously just displaying information that was not easily accessible or compilable, right? That's one. But the second part of it, and the most important part of it, is now we can actually start to do predictive views on that data. So as an example, if you're looking at, for example, sales data, we can start to do intelligent demand forecasting that can look out for 30 days to 60 days out on an SKU level and get to accuracies on the order of 85 to 90% accuracy on a SKU level. And when you do that, when you basically can get to that level of accuracy from 60% to 90%, now you need to carry less inventory. You can reduce the number, you can free up working capital. You can reduce obsolescence, wastage. These are all basically the business benefits of the technical part of the insights that we provided. Another example is basically pricing optimization. So when you're looking at essentially the same data, but you're looking at the customer segments, you're looking at product segments, and just comparing it to what you required to do in the past to get to this level of output. It used to be that a pricing optimization exercise used to take somewhere in the order of 6 months to 8 months. It would be a one-time exercise, and you'd get certain output that you now go ahead and implement. With the work that we do with advanced analytics and machine learning, what we are able to do is we're able to essentially take that same sales data, trade promotions, discounts, and essentially analyze it within a matter of weeks. So it's usually 4 to 6 weeks. And from there, we can actually start to produce output that the client can start iterating and executing on. And we can essentially look at micro segments. So, it's not just low, medium, high in terms of clients. We can look at, we can distribute the clients into 100 segments or more, right? And you can look at each of these micro segments, do a bunch of simulations to really understand what is the impact of changing your pricing by, giving a discount of 10% or 5% or 2%, or increasing prices by 5%, 10%, etc. We can observe that full spectrum of what the impact is going to be on demand, and then essentially provide the results from that simulation much more in advance to actually doing any actual physical implementation in real life. So that just gives you a much better predictive understanding, and you have the ability to really understand the effect of what you're going to do before you do it. Those are just some examples of what's possible.
I think, Jen, so my segue, being the operational guy, is that's also why I think Skogan brings a little bit of what we call the secret sauce, because you can be as predictive as you want, but if you're in a segment opportunity such as pricing optimization, SKU rationalization, you're also dealing with folks who sometimes look at sales as an art versus a science. Mm-hmm. And coming up with that science now and using science as a driver sometimes comes with that resistance, sometimes not so passive resistance, active resistance. So what Skogan can offer for you is not only that predictive outlook as to what SKUs you should have, what inventory you should carry, what the right discounting rate should be, but it works with those frontline salespeople now to understand the value proposition of this, to help train them on the understanding and the discipline and the execution of it, not simply just giving them new information that they might ignore. It's actually now giving them information and working with them to execute upon it.
Yeah, fantastic. And like what really comes to my mind next, and we'll have to concise this one because we are running kind of towards the end of this segment, but the concerns that I can hear are data security, cyber security. Do I have enough cloud space? What is the infrastructure that I need to run this? Like when companies, specifically smaller companies with smaller budgets, are starting to implement these, what are the kind of factors that they have to think about up front, maybe before they implement, and then as they are growing, so they can kind of understand, how do I plan this into my investment strategy to invest ahead of the curve, if you will? So,
I think maybe I'll start with the first point being that compared to even 5 or 7 years ago, the ease at which you can deploy entire applications to the cloud and spin up things in the cloud is just phenomenal. So what that means is you don't require a heavy investment in terms of either time, effort, or money in a very relatively short period of time with at a relatively affordable cost. You can actually have your entire application, end-to-end application, deployed in any of these clouds. The top ones being Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud or Amazon AWS. You can actually have those deployed to the cloud in a short period of time. And as far as the second point is concerned, which is concerning data security, typically the way we or any competent company that is doing these deployments, the way it's often deployed is that the cloud becomes a part of your infrastructure. So there's a secure connection between the cloud environment and your environment. And essentially, it's the data is not really leaving your premises because it's really part of one virtual private cloud that's all part of your network. So from a data security perspective, as long as all of those things are configured correctly, I don't think there's any much to worry about as far as that is concerned. You're not really putting your data, if it's configured correctly, I should mention that. If it's configured correctly, you're not really putting it outside of your environment because the Google Cloud or AWS environment becomes part of your environment in a VPC, in a virtual private cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So Rishi, if people are interested in reaching out to you, learning more of the technical side, getting more information on this, how can they reach out to you to learn more about the machine learning, the AI, in implementing these solutions into their businesses? How can they reach you?
Absolutely. The easiest way is to go to our website. It's www.scovenan.com. And on the contact us page, you can just send us a note and one of our team members should get back to you in 24 hours.
Fantastic. Mike, any other additional ways that they can reach out to you on the operational side, or if they're thinking about this and have concerns that you can definitely walk them hand in hand to their solutions?
Certainly, the phone is not dead, right? We all talk about modern technology, but you can still dial us up. So 832-416-1992 is our number, and you can get through to Rishi and I on one of the extensions or one of our business representatives. So you can always reach us through that and through social media and so forth. But we look forward to helping your audience.
Absolutely. And before we break, I love to leave one action step that people can take today so that they can get the ball rolling. So I'm gonna let each of you answer. If you were to recommend one action for the viewers, whether they're investors, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're thinking about starting up, what is that one action that you would recommend they take with regards to getting ahead of this curve, investing ahead of this curve, or implementing this in their business? And I think I'll ask you first, Mike.
Thanks. I'm actually working on a book on this particular subject. It's really focused on the art of the pivot. So, really understanding the market and the sentiment of the customer is critically important. The action is tremendous. I have three, which is, know your market, know your customer, know your numbers. It's three actions, but those are really the levers and the drivers. Don't let something become a quest. Actually understand through data, through information, what the market's going to be doing, not currently now, but what it's going to be doing, knowing how the customer is going to react to it, and knowing what fiduciary output it's going to have for you.
Fantastic. And no one who listens to this show has ever heard that. You're totally speaking my language. I'm all about knowing your customers, knowing your market, knowing your numbers. So thank you for that. Take action today. You heard it from not Jen, but someone else who is highly successful. Rishi, what is your takeaway action step for those who are listening or viewing today?
Absolutely. So I think what I'll recommend is taking a look at not just technology from as an investment, in the sense that, I want to have artificial intelligence as part of my solutions. What I would recommend is look at the next 1 to 2 years and identify what is the business priority that you really want to address, right? Like I want more top line growth. I want to reduce cost. I want to improve my logistics. I want to improve planning, etc. And that's the best way to really start. Once you have a deep understanding of what you want to achieve, that's the way to really engage, because now you can bring the appropriate solutions, whether they are AI or analytics or something else, to bear on that problem and get the best result.
Thank you so much. Thank you for both of your expertise, your knowledge, for demystifying the AI wave that we are facing today. I really appreciate your expertise. If you are watching, be sure to reach out to Rishi and Mike. They have been so generous with their time, their expertise. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Absolutely. And you, yes, you, if you are watching, if you are listening, I am speaking to you right now. Today, you just heard a lot of information. You had a lot of gems, a lot of starting points, but it's all irrelevant if you don't take action. Action is where the magic happens. Knowledge is just a small part of the equation, and then the action is what gets us into forward momentum. So what Mike said, what Rishi said, take one of those action steps and put it into practice today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, so that you can start to generate that forward momentum. If it's, I don't even know what they were talking about, look it up. What is AI? What are some of the implications? Reach out to one of them. If it's, hey, I kind of been playing around with this and now I need to see how it fits with my plan, look at your business plan. But whatever that action is, take it today. And unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this show. So without further ado, go ahead and win today, win this week, and we'll see you same time, same station next week. Have an amazing day.
This has been a NowMedia Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Soy Salvador García Soto y a partir de este lunes quiero comentarle que las noticias de la noche cambian de horario. De lunes a viernes a las 10 lo espero por el canal 10. Ya lo sabe, el mejor análisis, las historias, los personajes están aquí en las noticias de la noche del Heraldo Televisión. Las noticias donde deben de estar. Acompáñeme a las 10 por el 10.
According to the FBI, a robbery occurs every 13 seconds. Homes and businesses without a reliable security system are 300% more likely to be burglarized. Alert 360 provides custom-tailored rock-solid security solutions to residential and commercial customers. Whether it's home security, fire and carbon monoxide detection, flood protection, connected senior care, managed video surveillance solutions, 24/7 alarm monitoring, and life safety, Alert 360 is your ideal solution. In addition, Alert 360 has a smart home and business integrations like access control and video shield for a complete peace of mind, protecting what matters the most and reducing energy costs with our top-of-the-line automatic scheduling functions. Alert 360 offers security services discounts to military personnel, veterans, first responders, educators, and hospital personnel. Don't be a victim. Take a strong step today. Call Rosana Torres at 832-863-8574 for your free consultation.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Soy Guadalupe Juárez y junto con Sergio Sarmiento estaremos todos los días de lunes a viernes de 7 a 10 de la mañana con la mejor información nacional, internacional también. Aquí ustedes se van a enterar de todo lo que pasa en México y el resto del mundo. Ahora en Estados Unidos a través de NowMedia en colaboración con el Heraldo Media Group.
The tax and bookkeeping team is key to any successful business. At Gunderson's Bookkeeping, our passion is to help small business owners grow, be profitable, and to prosper. We specialize in supporting small to mid-sized business owners who want to hire a full-time or even a part-time bookkeeper, but just do not have the funds. In addition, we free business owners from the tedious tasks of bookkeeping and help them focus on